Brand disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed by individuals on this platform, the callers plus invited guests, are their own. The information you hear does not reflect the overall views of all parties associated with this brand. We encourage everyone to research all things heard live or via archive for edification purposes. Discretion is advised.
Don't touch that dial. You're now listening to Debate Talk Free Radio.
Help keep the show on the air. If you want to help, you can send your donation through PayPal. The email is debatetalkforyou@gmail.com or through Cash App, $Sal Showtime. Thanks for your support.
Yeah, so real quick, the premise of this show is again unifying a divided people, and another way of saying that is, are we one people and can we unify? And a concept I like to put out there for a lot of people to consider is the fact that yes, I consider us like all people of African descent of some sort, and whether you don't, the world does. But are we one people? A lot of people in the so-called conscious community and other spots, they want to be like, oh, we're all Israelites, or oh, we're all Moors, or all Kemetic, or all Aboriginal. They try to make it an all-encompassing thing. Everybody got to fit into one box. But the truth of the matter is when we look at history, we all come from different nations and tribes and whatnot that were enslaved and whatnot. So I don't think that it's conducive to try to force fit everybody into one box when they might not fit into that box. However, I think we can unify as one people under the concept of we have one unifying experience in that being the different nations and different tribes from Africa or wherever, in the Americas, wherever, we went through the transatlantic slave trade and went through chattel slavery, and were homogenized through that process and whatnot. And if nothing else, we have that one unifying experience to build from and have a basis of understanding. So real quick, I kind of want to get the other host understanding on do y'all feel like we are all the same people, or do you feel like we come from different nations and tribes in that we have a unifying experience? And with that, do you feel like it's okay if we express ourselves as the different nations and tribes that we come from? If you agree with that, and do you feel that we can be those different nations and tribes, and connect to just one common experience and respect the differences between the nations and tribes?
This is Reese, and I definitely I think so. I want to say that we have a little bit of discovery left to do when it comes to our identity, which is okay. But I do think that we have a common identity that we can use in order to progress and continue to evolve ourselves socially, economically, spiritually, politically, and so on. I think if we consider all of the terms that have been thrown out there, to me, the most unifying term is one where we call ourselves indigenous. And that allows us to still give reverence to whatever tribe we like. If we are going to claim our nationality and state what nation we belong to. So if we use the term indigenous, and then, well, I should say if we use the term indigenous as a preface or a prefix to our titles or to our tribal identities, then we should be able to encompass every iteration of what a quote-unquote black person is. Because when you call a black person, when you rename them and say, well, I am an indigenous person from here, or I'm an indigenous person from there, that basically gives reference to the motherland, Africa. And basically saying that this is a dark-skinned person, where they have their roots in Africa, and they are indigenous no matter where they're from. They are indigenous to that land, and anything that is present in that land that's not indigenous, then they should have no political say over what those indigenous people do in their indigenous land. And so I think that that's very unifying for us if we look at it that way. We can have the best of both worlds. And we don't necessarily have to shed anything just to add that specific title to, let it be known that we are an indigenous type.
Okay, interesting. Brother Elijah, what's your thoughts on the matter?
Oh, the bearer of bad news is back. So I have a very parochial view on the people, I guess, being unified. I think there are elements that can unify people as a group, like, brown people, I guess, wherever they be or be scattered. There are elements that can unify them, but if those elements don't possess enough commonality, at some point they're going to break, right? So years ago I used to talk to like the communities in New York, and they were like, hey, brother, we all, the Muslim, the Jew, the Christian, we all part of X, Y, and Z. And I said, man, that all sounds real, real great. But when you throw a cookout and this man want to bring swine, this man want to be vegan, and this man don't want to eat, pork or what have you, then you're going to have some type of discrepancy, right? Because one person's not going to eat on the grill with another one person going to question another person's diet. And again, that's not, to me, it's important not to build on false pretenses. If you view things as far as like, okay, look, we need to have a just and equitable society, I believe the same. Then again, there's some commonality there, but how that is actuated or carried out is going to vary with so much degree of variation that it's going to be difficult, in my estimation, for a large group to have that many things in common. And for that reason, I don't do much to purport to try to gather all people. Like, that's not, even all brown people, that's one of the furthest things away from my agenda. One, because of the frustration involved, and two, because there's so many differences and nuances that I think it's not a thing a man can do, so to speak.
Interesting.
That's my thought on it.
Interesting. To that, let me try to clarify a little bit more about when I'm saying unify and what I mean by that, because I know a lot of people have different concepts on what they mean by unify. And to me, I'm talking about just being able to move together in common cause in whatever society we find ourselves in. And what I mean by common cause is, so when you're talking about, like, somebody might be a vegan, someone might want to put swine on the joint, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I kind of come from the Malcolm X kind of perspective, to where, like, you leave the religion at the door concept, right? Or leave the like the personal beliefs at the door when you're having a certain conversation, but you pick them back up at once you leave and whatnot. And so when I say unify, I don't mean like everybody eating off the same grill or eating at the same table. I'm more so saying like finding areas where you can agree, respectfully disagreeing where you do disagree, and making space for each other where you do disagree, like civilly disagreeing. Like so recognizing, okay, there are going to be vegans, there are going to be pork eaters, there are going to be people who want to eat kosher or halal, there are going to be people who are Kemetic, Moorish, Israelite, etc., all that type of stuff, right? But instead of trying to make them all eat at their own table, how about we just get this park together, right? And this is here's the section for the people who want to go eat vegan. Here's the section for the people who want to go eat pork. Here's the section for the people who want to eat whatever, right? And we're celebrating each other, right? Being able to do that, right? And we're unifying in a divided way. Like, I got a friend that he's a 5% homie. He talks about coming divided for unified solutions, meaning that we agree at the outset that we're not going to agree on everything, right? We agree at the outset, like, okay, if you're a Moor, cool, I respect the fact that you're a Moor. If you're an Israelite, I respect the fact that you're an Israelite. If you're a 5%, all the way down the line, right? I'm not trying to change you. I'm not trying to force you to be different. I'm not trying to have you accept something that you don't already accept. I want to understand what you believe. I want to understand where we can work together, and where we can't work together, I want to put respectful space, so I'm not antagonizing you on something we don't need to be antagonized about. You know what I'm saying? And so whatever we can agree on, if it's 7 out of 10 things, cool, we move together on 7 things. If it's 5 things, cool, we move together on 5 things. If it's 3 things, we move together on 3 things. If it's just one, we move together on that one thing we can agree on. So that based upon the concept of the fact that the world sees us all as so-called black people, we can recognize we don't all have the same beliefs like you were just talking about. So in that context of being able to move together collectively in a positive direction, what we agree on, that's what I mean by unified. Just being able to get some kind of like positive movement, for all of us in whatever society we find ourselves in.
Well, I mean, I think to me again, that's what is the agreement striking to accomplish? Like, so if you look at historically, at least probably like in the United States, like I don't think that there's one movement that grew out of the U.S. amongst brown people, and I could be wrong, that did not have religious undertones. Like there's never been a unifying factor in the United States that did not have some type of religious undertone or a religious charismatic leader. Then, so like what is the aim of the unification? 2, just as, a thought and a framework, some of the early elders who was coming out of slavery and saw that the things that needed to be done was what do we produce, right? Because I think the conversation when it's talking about unifying based upon ideology, to me that's a waste of time and energy. I give very little energy to that. Just my own personal mindset. I don't even unify with too many people on business because that is way too many nuances, like way too much to deal with. But in terms of, let's say, a group of people as a whole, brown people, wherever they be, what do they produce? Because that can be a unifying factor, right? There's no industry as a whole. Like, hey, let's unify and take over or create our own National Basketball Association. Something like that, I would never purport could be done. I think people like their benefits too much is probably the best way to put it. So if it's like economic interest, it's too much nuance in it. But if there's like, let's all put seeds in the ground, well, I don't got nothing to talk about. I don't really want to hear your religion. You don't need to hear mine. Do you need to eat? Yes. Can you come out here and till the land, and I come out here and till the land? Who's going to be arguing over a seed being put in the ground? But then you have some who are going to figure out a way to cause discord over that. So to me, it's like, what is the unifying principle, and then what overall industries do brown people produce that can be a unifying factor without, who needs to be in charge and make the salary as if they working for the system as it stands?
That is a fantastic question, brother man. Fantastic question. And so, again, I was saying just generally, right, social mobility in some way, shape, or form in a positive direction for the people collectively seen as black, right? Because this is the purpose of it, right? Is so we do not collectively act as a unified people in any way, shape, or form, but yet the society we live in treats us as if we should be acting collectively. And we're in a society to where people act collectively and they compete against each other in certain ways and whatnot. And so in that avenue, we're losing in a race that we don't even know is happening, right? And so in a competition we don't even know is being played. And so I'm not saying no, well, let's go make a separate basketball association for ourselves. No. I'm saying that so we could all recognize, for instance, like if we do claim different nations, tribes, etc., right? This is like just an example, right? Not something I back, but just something to put a picture out there, right? With Black History Month, right? Our kids go to school, right? Go to public school, and they're told that they're black, right? That their only history is that they come from slavery, and whatnot, right? But we don't. There's no intensive on what different peoples come through, what different belief systems they had, what different languages they spoke, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right? We're talking about you're talking about the different foods and whatnot, right? All of these different people with different belief systems, they have different foods that they eat and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? Like, so let's say I'm Moorish and Israelite, etc. And I want to work on getting some halal and kosher food in the public schools and whatnot. We can team together on that kind of a thing. We don't have to work separately, right? Let's say there's vegans in the crew, right? We can all team together on that type of stuff. We can get together and like, okay, we're gonna go approach the school board together, right? And even though you believe this, I believe this, and this person over here believes this, they all see us as black. So we're gonna collectively go there and ask for what we need together. Right, so I'm gonna get my halal food. Someone's gonna get their kosher food. Someone's gonna get their vegan food. All that kind of stuff. But we're gonna move together in unison to get what we need together. Does that make sense?
Mm. It makes perfect sense to me. I have quite a bit to say about that because I want to expand you guys up to a bit of a higher level of viewing the game that's being played out here. I think I heard someone ask the question, what would we be unifying for? And I think that is a good place to start. For one, we have been systematically oppressed for ages, and there is, first of all, there's a lot of value to the fact that it's a system. And then my experience, what I know and understand about life is that systems can be duplicated. They can be re-engineered, reverse engineered, and so on and so forth. So where we need to figure out a starting point is, where do we start engineering our systems? We need systems that mimic the ones that maintain us right now, but we just simply need to rig those systems in our favor, like these systems we're on now have been rigged in their favor. And so the idea is not to say, okay, I'm going to start my own NBA league or whatever. It's to have a platform or a sort of a pocket that can hold and house and direct our wealth as we accumulate it, because we are the fastest accumulators of wealth. And another question was asked about what would we produce. And I think we need to think higher, because we don't need to produce anything. We're producing energy that is causing this system to continue, to maintain itself. We produce the energy that keeps all of the social systems going and alive. So if you think about it, we are called human resources. The natural resource that America owns is us. We don't have diamonds and gold and all of the stuff that they have over there in Africa, and oil reserves and all that. We have human energy that we produce, and that's what they enslave us by. The industry is already created for us. We're already the slaves. All we need to do is create a system where we can make money from them and house it under us, hold it under us, accumulate it under us. And that's one reason why I feel we need to learn a lot more about our political status. And we need to learn more about claiming a different political status other than black, because as long as we call ourselves black, that is a legal definition under the law, and it places us under their jurisdiction of their oppressive systems. And so as long as we claim ourselves to be black on paper, we will continuously be slaves under, or chattel slaves, which is what black means. You're a chattel slave. We will continuously be slaves under their system as long as we owed ourselves to their jurisdiction, and we voluntarily devote ourselves to their jurisdiction. We can't keep doing that. It's counterproductive. So what we need to do is rename ourselves something that is indigenous, stating that we are natural beings of the land, and we are not under any jurisdiction by force or by volunteerism other than the ones that we create for ourselves. The only thing about that is we have to do that in business terms. We cannot do that under a religious organization, because religion is not natural law. It is not universal law. What we have to do is follow universal law by creating our own jurisdiction because we are our own entities. We can do what we want to do on our land, the same way they can do what they want to do. And so we have to just look at ourselves in a light where we can understand that we can create our own systems. And so I want to offer you guys, if you want to share with me your emails in our chat, I will send you something that I've been working on because I'm actually addressing these things, okay? In my work that I do every day, I'm putting pieces together to create I'm going to laugh a little bit because it's a bit of a master plan, but it addresses these issues in a more, from a technology, a science and technology approach, where we're giving ourselves a platform. And I want to explain this simply, and then I'm going to yield. The platform that I'm developing is basically designed to give us a place where we can do mission-based socializing. Like you were saying earlier, that was Orthodox Moor that was speaking earlier about social, our social engagement. Who was that?
It's probably me, yeah.
Who was that?
What point were you talking about specifically about the engagement?
Yeah, when you were talking about social engagement, you said something about us needing to come together, to move together for a particular reason.
Yeah.
Okay.
Collective purposes,
okay,
yeah.
So that is the goal of this platform. I call it mission-based social engagement, where we can come together for a mission. Now, the idea behind that is for us to use the platform to come together and really do business first, and make it to let's just say you have two companies that need work done, and they go into contract with each other to get that business done. So the platform is there to facilitate contract work. It's there to facilitate project management. It's there to facilitate relationship building. It's there to facilitate business training, to develop our businesses into businesses that can actually compete on a business or professional level. We have a lot of business owners out here that are unprofessional. So our platform is really designed to help us along the way so that we can build, we can use our most powerful ability that we have right now, which is wealth accumulation. If black people can't do nothing else, we can make some money and we can spend some money. We can do that. And so to me, not only is that our number one power, but then we also have another advantage, which is our numbers. And we're connected by the internet. So we can make use of those things, then we can start building from there, using our economic power to unify under those pretenses and saying, okay, if I can't do nothing else with my people, I can get out here and make money with them. Even if we can't eat the same food, even if we can't pray to the same God, even if we can't agree on the same president, we can come together and make some money and say and agree that we want to generate generational wealth under our own power and under our own jurisdiction, and something that we can control, owning and operating our own assets. So it's possible. It can be done, but it just really takes the right content and the right plan.
Okay. To that point,
I think,
quick,
again, just the found.
No, please, yeah, go ahead, please.
I think the foundation itself still has to be challenged, right? Like, there's Dr. Claude Anderson who said, black people don't produce nothing but sweat, right? So I'm saying if a people is going to be considered people, like, okay, we're a nation, we're a group of people, what do you produce? What industries do you control and produce? You cannot produce wealth, not making money. You cannot produce wealth without control of production. what do brown people, black people, indigenous people produce? I can't unify with anybody who cannot produce, period. Like I can't, right? Like you leave one, I left one country, went to another one. Each country produces something. So when they cut off from America, or respectively cut off from Britain, their colonizer, they were able to some extent, maintain a level of their own production and use their production as a bartering force to trade with other nations. So using Cuba as example, when they cut off from the Spaniards and then got in bed with America and then cut off from America, we still produce rum, we still produce sugarcane, we still produce whatever else they produce. And then Jamaica, the same thing. We have certain amount of production, mangoes, crops, bananas. What do brown people produce? You cannot unify people without production. Otherwise, and this is, again, in my research background, opinion, and estimation, it's just talking. It's just talking.
I'm not sure how that is an accurate. Well, I shouldn't say accurate, but I don't know if I agree with the sentiment or the logic behind that one, because black people, we have sustained the energy that it takes to run the entire country, and we are the labor force of the country for now. Between us and brown people, us and Hispanics, we are the lowest on the totem pole, and that's where most of the weight of the world is on the lower class. And so we have a lot of sweat equity, actually. We have a lot of know-how, and I think that is something that may seem a little intangible. When you think about it, the people who own the company don't know how to run it. Okay? Now, if everybody who know how to run the company walk out and start their own company to make their own money, then what does that mean?
Well, again, I'm not saying this to be divisive or disparage, but running a company is a lot different than controlling production, right? So I run a company now. That's different than controlling production. Making money is different than controlling production. Like, production is the resources that you own. And I'm saying that brown people as a whole don't own enough resources or control enough industries. Being a labor force, while that is...
No, nobody owns resources. Natural resources are not for ownership.
No. That's not necessarily true. But I'm just saying, like, again,
it is true.
Whether it's for ownership, whether it's for ownership,
created that idea, but that's not a natural law.
What I'm saying, whether it's for ownership or usage, in order for brown people to unify, name a nation on the face of the earth, any one of them. China. Does America own China's land? That's a natural land is a natural resource. Does America own China's rice fields? No, China owns them. China is a nation, and is monolithic as that nation is, and is still divided as that nation is. They own their resources, and that's what I mean. I'm not talking about necessarily like an individual.
Well, they know that they're Chinese.
Talking about.
They know that they're Chinese.
Well, I mean,
and they know that that's their land to own. See, we're in a different predicament than the Chinese. We don't have the knowledge that we own our land.
But sis,
by
that's a whole
nature.
separate. That's a whole separate principle. Like, everybody in China isn't Chinese. They even have disagreements on the tribes and nations that they.
But everybody who owns the resources in China are Chinese.
Right, and
We're
that's exactly why I brought up
China.
China, because there's 50. Go ahead, sister.
No, I was just going to say I don't want to lose the focus of what you were saying, because you were talking about ownership. And to me, that's a little bit different. We're talking about the people who own China. They are Chinese.
Yeah,
right. So
the point that I'm making is they control the resources, and you saying resources can't be controlled. No, they can be controlled and they can be owned.
I didn't say that.
China
I said they're not for ownership. I know that they can be controlled. I said they're not for ownership, and that by natural law, nobody owns the earth. That is the natural law. The earth is here just for it's man-made character and a ritual to come up on something and say, oh, that's growing out of the ground, I own it. That is a man-made concept.
Yeah, real quick, let's make this
in principle. Hold on one more time. In principle, I agree with you, but I can't go to China and just start grabbing some of their resources. So I get what you're saying. Whether it's man-made or not, to me, doesn't necessarily have a bearing on that it exists.
It does.
You're talking about
the reason why is because
you're talking about a theoretical framework. I'm talking about praxis.
Yeah, I got you. And the reason why it does matter is because if they can do it, we can do it too, which is the reason why I said we need to create a infrastructure where if we were to start doing that on our own land, using our own jurisdiction, we can put ourselves into the game. We don't need to wait for permission to own our own resources. All we have to do is lay claim to it based on natural law. And there's no way that anybody. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I thought you paused. No, finish your point, please. Finish your point. I thought you paused.
I did.
But when you're done, I want to jump in real quick.
Okay, I just want to make it clear that we can do anything that they can do. They came over here and unlawfully grabbed our land from us and then sold it back to us and then enslaved us to the debt. And that's not legal, it's not lawful, it's not logical. So we have to learn that these people are creating the terms of their own game. So if we're going to take back what was taken from us, we have to do it according to the rules. Now, we are in a contractual agreement with these people according to the Constitution. So we have to follow the Constitution in order to take our stuff back. But there is a way that we can do that using our natural rights under the Constitution. But we cannot do that thinking that these people have something that we don't. Like they have the right to own the land and we don't. No, if they have the right to own the land, so do we. We just have to learn how to own the land. We have to learn how to amass wealth and keep it instead of giving it right back to them like we do.
Okay, I still think we're missing my point. Go ahead, but I still think we're missing my point, which is point blank period. You have to control resources.
And we're going to talk past each other because that example about China America is apples and oranges. So I want to make it a little bit more apples and apples right quick. Like so, in China, we can't go to China and control nothing, right? But at the same point in time, the Chinese aren't going to come here and control resources either.
Why not? But why not? Because
I'll let y'all go back and
nobody owns
I'll let y'all go back and forth for a
No, go ahead.
So this is what I'm trying to make it apples
as you're explaining it. No, I'm saying while you're making it apples to apples, I want you to answer the question. She said, no, the construct of people owning land is not natural. Why can't we as brown people, wherever we find ourselves, go over to China and control land? Make it apples to apple to me, because I do want to understand it.
Right. So I'm gonna bring the Chinese here, right? So in China, there's 56 different ethnic groups, right? And so, but when they come here, like so, there's like the Hokkien, the Cantonese, the Fujianese, like a whole bunch. There's the Uyghurs. There's a whole bunch of different ethnic groups in China, right? They're not all one homogenous people. But when they come here, we see them as all Chinese, right? You go to Chinatown, we just see them as Chinese, right? However, when they come here, they recognize that they're different people. They recognize the different languages they speak, the different lineages they speak, all that type of stuff. And they in Chinatown they erect something called a feng hui. A feng hui is like a little congress in a sense, right? It's like they get together and say it's like a group of elders or something like that. They get together and say this is how we're going to get together to move for the unity of Chinatown, right? This is your section over here. 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 This is the money we put into the pot to make sure we all got lawyers. This is the money we put into the pot to make sure we all got doctors. This is the money, all those things there. You know what I'm saying? But it's divided. And the different people have different levels of power based upon their numbers. But they understand when we come to this country, they see us as Chinese, so we move that way. Do you see what I'm saying? And so the purpose of unifying would be the reason to unify would be that concept, right? In the sense to like no matter how, we recognize that we are different people, but the world sees us as one, right? And to produce something, it's gonna like so the Cantonese aren't gonna produce the same dream for themselves that the Uyghur is going to produce because they have a different background, right? So the feng hui allows them to produce their own dreams for themselves, but still be able to collectively act together for that dream, if that makes sense. So what I'm saying is, that the benefit of what we produce is the sisters talking about we own our sweat equity. When the Chinese come over here, that they own the same thing. That's the one resource they own is their sweat equity. You know what I'm saying? They build with that. They build their Chinatowns with that. They build on top of that. You know what I'm saying? They're buying things up left and right here doing that. You know what I'm saying? We're seeing banks being erected here with their initials put on it. You know what I'm saying? That they make after having moved here and whatnot. We can do the same thing if we recognize there's strength in numbers, and the strength the concept is we don't all have to produce the same dream, but but separately we're not going to produce nothing. We're going to be fighting all uphill when this country is seeing that we should be acting collectively, and they treat us as such, and that's the rules of the game. So if we don't collectively unify, we're going to fail miserably together. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm saying, so the concept, like I'm saying, with the Feng Hui and the Chinese and the 56 different ethnicities, is they respect the fact that there's 56 different ethnicities, and they're like, cool, you're gonna get your spot, I'm gonna get my spot, all is well. You know what I'm saying? Your food is your food, my food is my food, your language is your language, my language is my language. But when we come over here, there's a game being played. There's rules to the game, and the major rule to the game is there's strength in numbers.
That's it. I'm in full
agreement.
Maybe
I'm being duplicative, but I'm saying, in my estimation, brown people can't do that. Period. They can't. And if they could,
you're saying we don't have sweat equity. Why can't we do that?
They don't have the capacity.
Are you saying we don't have the sweat equity to do it?
They don't have the mental capacity to put aside differences and unify. You're talking about people who have been out of slavery since 1860s, 1870s, early 1900s. They don't have the capacity to unify. They don't have that capacity.
So I'm going to go to the historical reference that everyone goes to.
They would do it already.
So when Black Wall Street happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma, was that because we couldn't do it? Was that just osmosis? Like, what was that?
Are you quoting a scenario? Are you comparing the Chinese to a city in Oklahoma?
I'm comparing Chinatown to Black Wall Street 100%. I'm comparing a Feng Hui in Chinatown to Black Wall Street 100%.
But with Chinatown, I just came from Cuba, and there's a Chinatown. Is there a Black Wall Street for brown people in Cuba? You talking about one city?
You mean one that hasn't been
So you literally just said we don't have the ability to do so. I cited an example. Are you going to recognize the example or no?
Yeah, the example I'm saying is not valid because I'm not saying in one city. I'm saying as a group of people throughout the country or throughout the world, the country, the United States, because that's what you based your reasoning in. I'm saying that cannot happen.
Right, I didn't jump to
Cuba.
I stated correct.
No. You mentioned Chinatown. That's why I brought Cuba in because
did
they have Chinatown in
did
Cuba.
the first Chinatown start universally across the country? Did it start in New York City, or did it start in San Francisco?
I'm saying that's to me. That's
was there one Chinatown, or was there 100 Chinatowns when it first started?
I'm saying wherever it is, I don't know where it first started, and to me that's not even relevant. That's not even relevant to what we're saying.
It's 100% relevant.
To me, I can't answer. Listen, you said, what's the question? Where Chinatown started, or how many were there?
No, how many were there when they started? Was there more than one?
I don't have the answer to that question.
They did not go and build 100 different Chinatown cities all at once. They had to get there, which is the same thing that we have to do. We have to start.
I don't know which one of you guys can verify that there wasn't more than one Chinatown. I mean, the diaspora for China can almost be equal to the diaspora for brown people. I mean, Chinese people everywhere. Plus, it's 1 billion of them, right? So tell me that you're saying that there was more than one at the same location. I'm telling you assertively, you don't find Black Wall Street in anywhere across the United States to this day. Period. You can't unify black people like Chinese.
I don't disagree with you, brother. Your point was that it's not possible. We're not capable of it. Hold on. I don't disagree that you don't find it in the current modern day construct. What you literally said is that we're not capable of it. So I cited an example
when I'm
where
saying
it happened.
capable, when Yes. When I am saying cable.
Hold on. Make sure we do this one at a time.
Hold on. I threw it out there.
Well. I just want to let y'all know. Hold on. Can you hear me? I just want you to understand the audience is listening, so let's try to do it one at a time. I'll say one at a time. And we do have some callers out there standing by as well. Hold on. We also have callers out there standing by as well. So, Orthodox Moor, whenever you're ready, we can bring the callers in. Just let me know. But you guys can continue.
Yeah, let Elijah finish his point. We can bring him in, bro.
What I'm saying is, on a national scale, like Chinatowns, wherever you go is on a national scale. New York City, New Orleans, that does not exist for brown people on a national scale, nor do they possess the capacity to unify for that. That's what I'm saying. Not do they do Black Wall Street. That's not what I'm making a comparison to. I'm saying throughout any major country, that is not going to happen. That's my argument.
Real quick, just help me understand when you say don't have the capacity, like that triggered me a little bit. So I admit I probably got a little trigger right there. So when you say don't have the capacity, we're having this conversation. Paint that picture for me. What do you mean specifically when you say we don't have the capacity?
Those efforts can't be duplicated on a mass level to go uninterrupted over a sustainable long period of time for brown and black people. That's what I'm saying.
Oh yes.
Not so like a white man can make a bookshelf. I can make a bookshelf. A Chinese man can. Okay, well, hey, let's scale this and go across the country or across everywhere you see brown people got a council, a unifying force, a market share, control of resources. Nope.
But see, this is why I say you have to elevate your thinking. Let's go ahead and take the caller because I want to address that, but I don't want to be rude.
All right, let's go to the phone lines then. Again, the number is 319-527-6239. If you're just joining us, today's show is entitled Unifying a Divided People. That's the name of the show. Let's go to the phone lines. Let's go to 314. You're live. 314.
You know, one thing that's missing is when I hear people say we. Who is the we? That has to be defined. All blacks in the United States not the same. And the 2020 census have provisions that's going to show that because within the 2020 census, you have subdivisions that's not coming under this all-encompassing black or African American. You got Nigerians, Ghanaians, Haitians, Ethiopian. So that's going to change things quite a bit. Now, Nigerians who have the highest educational attainment and also have a higher household income than whites, higher educational attainment than Asians, they do have that, what you would call cohesive business atmosphere. Aliki Dangote is the richest black man in the world. He's opening up an office in New York, which he's going to provide, I think, $10 billion worth of working capital, and that's going to be directed at Nigerian Americans. But it's staying to be seen. You can't go to Africa countries, Nigeria, Ghana, and own land. You can lease it. And China is under a communist government. So that's a whole lot different than what we have here in the United States. Blacks in the United States are United States citizens. Now, they can claim to be whatever they want to, but the rest of the world look at you as a U.S. citizen, and no airport is going to take you any place in the world unless you got a U.S. passport, because they will be required to bring you back when that country you land in don't accept you. They'll allow you in. So those are things you have to consider. As far as blacks all coming together, like somebody say, you come together under an agenda, an interest. Somebody made mention of what Malcolm said. Leave your religion at the door and also your guns, and come into the meeting and discuss what the agenda presents itself to be. So that's the reality. Now, people have these ideas, and they want everyone else to join in instead of making use of it themselves. And one other thing, you have organizations Look at the National Society of Black Engineers, who started back in the 1970s, and their goal was to produce 25,000 graduates in the STEM field. Well, in their last 3 national conventions, last one was just past March in Detroit. 2 before that was Pittsburgh and Kansas City. You had U.S. corporations snatching up those black STEM graduates left and right. In Detroit, Lockheed Martin hired over 400 amongst the 15,000 that was there in attendance that was being hired by other corporations, which included Boeing, Chevron, ExxonMobil, the Central Intelligence Agency, the Department of Defense, FBI, Bechtel, Goldman Sachs, and others. 2 years before that, Northrop Grumman in 17 and 18 hired over 400 a year off the convention floor. But looking at that, we still don't have enough. Blacks don't have, even in their percentage of the population, that number of people in these professions. 7% of the total engineers in the country are black. The number of people that's in the
stand by for 1 second. Stand by. Let's get some feedback from the host. I'm going to bring you back in, though, because you said a lot of information. Reese, you want to chime in and say anything? Some of the things you heard? Okay.
Yeah, I just feel like there is not enough respect on our name when it comes to our people. Like we have not been the working force of this country for the entire, last few centuries. And the fact that we have been doing so much work and they've been very tactful in dividing us mentally, then we feel like, unity is just not possible because of whatever reason. But I want to say to anybody that thinks that it's dangerous for us to unify or thinks that we can't unify because we're too divided and blah, 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 I just don't see it that way, for one, because we have the use of technology. I talk about this all the time. I'm pretty sure I've even talked about it on this platform. Is that Black Wall Street was destroyed because there was a physical location for them to target. If you update and upgrade your thinking to the year 2020, where we currently are, we have computers that allow for the organization and administration and direction of our affairs. We have technology which we can use to house all of our organizations in a cloud. We do not have to formulate or build any physical structures at all for us to organize and to build organizations. We simply don't. All you need to build an organization is somebody's email address. And to me, that's enough. We do not have to have some big old operation where we're building temples and structures and buildings and skyscrapers and cities we can continue to live in society like we do right now. All we have to do is have an actual organization that says we are created for the housing and for the affairs of black people, whatever they want to call themselves. They're not going to call themselves black in this organization because that would put them under the jurisdiction of the oppression that they're trying to get away from. So we're going to call them something else. They can choose whatever they want to choose to be called, but we're going to call them something else so that we can do business under that title of something else. We cannot, I don't care what title we do business under, we can't do business under black because that's already taken. The dictionary already defines black people as being chattel slaves. And if you want to go forward trying to own the world being black, you've already lost the game because you're mistitled. You cannot do anything under somebody else's jurisdiction. They own you under the title of black. And as long as we move forward under that title of black, we will forever be owned. So we have to get from that title. That's it. We get from the title, we do business together, we create our own industries. And I also want to talk about this production idea because we do produce things, and I'm trying to figure out where this is coming from. We are one of the leading producers in the tech industry right now. Black people in the tech industry are taking off. and are doing things that you would never believe. Even around the world, you see people that are of color, deeply melanated people that are doing amazing things with technology. And we can own that if we had a place for them to gather and do business together and build things together, create companies together, create conglomerates together. Don't you realize that America is run by a bunch of conglomerate businesses? That's it. It's just a bunch of conglomerate businesses that came together with a bunch of business ideas to serve society. And that's the industry that they control. Social engineering is what they're in the business of doing. We are social engineering. They do social engineering off of our backs. They take our culture and they engineer their own special interests, and then they sell us our culture right back to us after they've learned how to monetize it and, quote-unquote, produce it. They are producers of culture. We are consumers and creators of culture. Now, see, we have to understand the difference. If we can be the creators, the consumers, and the producers, then where do they even fit in the picture? They inserted themselves as producers of culture, producing the media, producing our natural resources, producing our clothing, producing our food. They produce everything. We can produce all of that, and we don't need help. We're doing it already. All they're doing is being intermediary middlemen and facilitating the production of our creation and consumption. That's an intermediary. They don't need them for that. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little frustrated. Let me be quiet. Y'all go ahead and talk.
No, it's all right. It's all right. It's all good. Orthodox Moor, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to address what the caller said on a couple of points. So first and foremost, he was saying, who is the we? And the premise of the we was based upon the people who descend from those who went through the transatlantic slave trade, being a unifying experience and whatnot. And to that, I want to talk about where the brother brought up the Nigerians and whatnot. I have Nigerians in my family. I talk to a lot of Nigerians in the UK and whatnot. And let's say you have like the Igbo and the Yoruba or the Ibibio. They all come over here. They go to the UK or something like this, right? I was talking to a Ibibio woman in the UK about this. They have I forgot the name she called it, but they have a structure that they do to where, again, the culture that they go to all sees them as Nigerian. In America, we all see them as Nigerian. You know what I'm saying? In the UK, they're all Nigerian. But to themselves, they understand, I'm Yoruba, I'm Igbo, I'm Ibibio, etc., right? And so what they do is they have their separate clan houses that they kind of go to where like they'll have like the elders get together, the families get together, whatever. They send money. They collect money together as the Igbos, as the Ibibio, as the Yoruba. They send it back home to their tribes and whatnot. They keep in contact with their tribal elders back home and whatnot. They see what's going on. They keep in contact and whatnot. If there's an emergency back home, they all get together. They send money, etc., all that kind of stuff, right? But they organize together. They recognize, okay, the UK sees me as Nigerian, so I'm going to rock with my Nigerian homies when we get here. But at the same point in time, I'm also going to rock with my specific tribe of Nigerian and rock out for them and whatnot. So I'm saying doing the same concept, right? Like, so even though we all come through the same experience, we identify as different people. For instance, Reese and I don't identify as black. Some people do identify as black. Some people want to make a new name, et cetera, right? The point of that being is, okay, once you've identified yourself as whatever you are, whatever you believe, can we do like what the Nigerians do, like what the Chinese do? Can we collectively move and be like, okay, the world and this culture that we're in sees us all as this one people because we went through this collective experience? Can we act for each other's best interest and agree to disagree at the outset? So, for instance, not every Yoruba and Igbo and Ibibio is Muslim. Some of them are. Do you know what I'm saying? When they get here, you're going to find Nigerians that go to mosques. You're going to find Nigerians that go to Christian churches. You're going to find Nigerians that are going to none of that stuff. You're going to find Nigerians that are into in the Ifa and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? However, they got no issue. You know what I'm saying? Being in similar locales, like, because they live around each other, fam. They live around each other, right? But they have their different sections. You know what I'm saying? And they support their individual tribes in that collective unit. And that's the whole point. So I might be an Israelite, a Moor, a Kemetic person, an indigenous person, an Aboriginal, etc. Right? And that's cool. But I have the ability to go, like I'm saying, just like the Nigerians go back and support their own individual tribes. We can do the same thing. We can collectively work together. And like the sister Reese is talking about, we get money. If we can do nothing, we can get money and spend money, right? So why not do it? Why not be able to work collectively on things like that, and also work for ourselves individually under that collective protection? Because again, the concept is there's strength in numbers, and we're playing a losing game on that concept. We're acting like we can be a nation of one.
Mm-hmm. We can. All we need is a platform to say that that's what it is.
Brother Elijah?
Yes, I'm here.
Is anything you want to?
I'm just listening. There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot to say in there, but where is it being done? So there's a lot to disagree with, but I think, where is it being done? Like, give me an example of brown people, whatever title they want to go by, which, and I'm saying to be disparaging, but until you control some type of resources of production, I don't care what they call you. You don't control nothing, like as a group. So whatever they call you or don't call you is all predicated on you don't own nothing as a people. You are subject to us. And the ideal of even like human resources is kind of antiquated. Now it's human capital. There's enough people to choose from that they can monopolize your labor and get rid of your labor. But what do the people own, and where is it being done? So
okay, so
again, I don't
quick,
have much else to say. Like,
okay, so just a return question. So how are the Nigerians building mosques in Texas?
Nigerians have something that brown people in America don't, just like the Chinese have, just like the Asians have, just like the Cubans have, just like the Egyptians have. They have something called nationalism. So their nationalism is the unifying force generally wherever they go. Ethiopians the same thing. So if you look in Washington, D.C., and you look at anywhere else, which I think has the highest concentrations of Ethiopian people outside of Ethiopia in the United States, they control all the parking lots, all of them, and just about 90 before Uber, and even now, probably like 90% of the cabs in the District of Columbia are by Ethiopians. They have something that brown people as a collective don't have, which is nationalism. That's a unifying force.
So what's the basis of
talking about is nationalism?
Right. So what's the basis of Nigerian nationalism?
They all come from the same land. They as a group, their people own the resources. As divided as they may be, we all come from this country with the same language, give or take. I mean, some nuances in different regions. The same mother flag, the same prime ministers, the same. That's nationalism. We all come from the same country.
But just so we're clear, that amongst Nigeria, you have Muslims, you have Christians, you have people who believe in Ifa, you have multiple different tribes, right? All under one nation. They're not one homogenous group, correct?
No, that's agreed. But they have nationalism. That's what I'm saying.
Right. So
the Chinese have the same thing. You quoted that earlier. They have the same thing.
Right. So I asked you what's the basis of the nationalism, right? And so you're going to say, well, they're the same nation. But if I ask you what that means, you're not going to give me a clear answer.
The land is the basis.
So did they define their own borders?
I don't know what that has anything to do with. I mean, Nigeria is not Togo and it's not Ghana. So explain what you mean by that.
Was it always Nigeria? Who made the borders?
I'm saying it's Nigeria today. I'm not getting into who made the borders. That's
right, and that was my point. My point was, if I ask you the specifics, you're not going to give me that, right? So what I'm saying, the point, the way we get together, what we organize around here, right, is that we had the same collective experience and that we went through one thing together. We might be different peoples. We might have different belief systems, right? But those who can look at that and collectively agree. Like, for instance, again, me and Reese can agree on we don't want to call ourselves black, right? right? There might be people who want to call themselves black, right? You understand what I'm saying? Me and Reese.
So when you say the same experiences, are you saying everybody went through the same experiences or interpreted what they went through the same?
So
because some people say they haven't went through nothing.
Me and Reese all descend from people who went through the transatlantic slave trade. Yes. That's the experience,
What's the
brother.
point? But I'm saying, like, are you saying that? And just clarify for me, you're saying that that's the equivalent of coming from a country with defined borders that we can go back to, that's stamped on our passport, that says this is where I was born. Like you're saying, unified based upon
No, I'm not saying that because you can't explain why that nation has borders. I'm saying we choose to organize together as a different people that went through a collective experience.
And you're saying that that's going to make nationalism?
That is what nationalism is you choose to organize for a collective reason. That is what nationalism is, brother.
Can you have nationalism without
I'm back, guys.
land? Can you have a nation without land?
You can have a nationality without land 100%.
Can you have a nation without land?
Yes, you can have a nation.
Can you have a nation without land?
You understand that the Jews were organized as Zionists way before they ever got Israel, right? They got that through political activity. Hold
on. What is the nation that has no land? Name a nation that has no land.
Black people. We're not. I think you are really harping on the land because you're thinking of it in terms of ownership. But if you think about it, first of all, the land is tied to our blood, which is our spiritual connection to the land. There is no ownership of that, just like you have no ownership of a person's body or a person's being. You cannot own the land because it is like a sentient being, just like a human being. It's alive and conscious, so you cannot own it. So there is no requirement.
Who can't own land? I don't like. I'm sorry. I'm a little slow. I don't understand this. When you say you can't own land,
let me explain.
What do you mean?
Let me explain. But that's what I'm saying to you right now. There is no in universal law, and this is what I'm trying to explain to you. Man-made laws are a lesser hierarchy. They're in a lower position on a hierarchy of laws that must be followed by man. There's a difference between having a man's law and then a universal or a natural law. So basically, when you have a man's law, people can pick or choose if they want to participate in that law that was created by man. My favorite example to use is like if I were to drive down the street holding my cell phone in my hand and there are laws created that say I should not, and I'm forbidden from doing that. But I'm still going to pick and choose if I want to do that because that's man's law. That's somebody that told me they don't want me to drive with my phone in my hand. But if me being I have total control of my being, I can do what the hell I want. I can hold my phone in my hand if I want. So I choose to break that law with all consciousness, knowing that I may have to face a consequence or whatever. But if I don't want to follow that law, then I'm not going to follow that law, plain and simple. But if you have natural laws, things like the law of attraction, things like the law of magnetism and mentalism, the law of vibration, and the things like gravity, those are things that nature deems for all of mankind. There is a law in place, and there is no way for you to break it. There's no way for you to go around it, get out of it, or anything to that effect. That's a natural, universal law.
I appreciate that, and I do appreciate that. But you're explaining a philosophy that doesn't exist in the world. The Chinese own China. No, the Chinese own China. No, the Chinese own China.
That is not true.
No, that's not true.
That is not true. You have to understand what you're saying on a basic level. Understand what you're saying because first of all, you can't appreciate what I'm saying until you allow me to finish what I'm saying. We have a spiritual connection to the land that we are on. By natural law, we have jurisdiction over the land that we were born on. So it doesn't matter where we come from in our ancestor world. It matters where we were born right here, right now. We are indigenous to this land, and someone foreign to this land came over here and just started saying, oh, hey, I own this. I'm getting ready to process this land and give it back to you. I'm going to sell it back to you because I've processed all of the resources of this land. And what I'm saying to you is that anybody can do that, including us. It's our land. We can go and do the same process of simply saying, this is my resource. I'm going to sell it. I'm going to process it and sell it to you. We don't necessarily have to even do that anymore.
I'm saying that that's not possible. You can't go to China, because that's their land, and sell nothing back to them. Like, as a people, I'm not talking about you and I.
Well, I'm not talking about China. You might be talking about China. I'm talking about right here where black people are. Black people are not in China. We're right here in America.
No,
and we can do that right here in this place.
Land.
And if we wanted to go to China,
land can't be owned.
Listen to what I'm saying to you. I'm talking about the resources of the land. If you go to a place and you sign a title and say, I'm going to purchase this land from you, who did that person get the land from? Who did they buy it from?
Well, I mean, I don't think that's relevant.
Answer that question for me. Can you answer that question for me? Who was the very first person to sell land and who sold it to them? How did they gain ownership of it?
If you explain how that's relevant, I can explain that to you. But stop laughing.
No, it's relevant. This is a whole conversation. You're not going to try to tell me it's not relevant.
No, I'm not saying it's not relevant. I'm saying if you can explain to me how it's relevant, because we're moving from a theoretical framework of the land is everybody's, which I agree to. But none of us as a group of people can roll up in China and say, you know what? This is ours now because the universal law says
still on your mind. I'm not sure why China is still on your mind.
We can say Japan. It don't make a difference.
I think you're bringing up China a lot, and I think that's not what they're talking about.
No, we can say any country.
We're not talking about China.
We can say any country. We can say, when you say the land is not owned by anybody, it's a universal principle, I'm pointing to a land that you cannot go to and say, hey, the universe said this is ours as a people.
We're not
because
Chinese,
you know what?
brother.
They're going to say no.
Are you Chinese?
It don't make if so hold on. So you're saying now, because you're changing your argument, you're saying now the
I'm
universal
not changing my
law.
argument. I just asked you a question.
Hold on. So if the universal law said the land is mine, wherever I go, I can pick up land, and it's mine wherever I go, according to what you said.
If you go over
now
to China and ask them people to sell you some of their land, you don't think they'll sell it to you if you gave them enough money for it?
I'm saying as a group of people, and actually in China, the land is owned by the government, so it can never be sold by individual people. It can be traded back and forth, but the land is owned by the government. It's the same way just about in Cuba. The government owns the land. So I'm saying you're saying that as a universal principle, nobody can control land or resources. And you ask me, who was the first person to sell land?
If somebody had enough gold,
let me finish this last point.
If somebody had enough gold to go over to China, and if somebody had enough gold to do like the Englishmen did, the British did when they came over here, if they had enough balls to pack up their stuff, come over to a foreign land and do just that, if somebody had enough gold to do that in China, it could be done if they had the audacity to do it. Because somebody had the audacity to come over here and do it.
Would they be following universal principles, or would they go to war? Would they follow universal principles?
That's what I'm telling you.
Everybody understood it, or would they go to war?
That's what I'm saying to you. They would absolutely be exercising their natural right to do so. They have every natural right to go over there and say, "This is my land. I'm going to produce it and sell it to you." But yes, they would run the knowledge and the risk. It's like I said before. If I'm going to break a law, or if I'm going to do something that I know of the consequences of, then I'm going to do that. But again, brother, we're in America. We are black people in America. I don't really care about what's going on in China or what their laws are. What I'm telling you is that we have the ability right here. Hold on. What I'm telling you is that we right here in this country have the ability to engage in the game that's being played on our backs. We right now are being dominated because we have no economic house for our money to be held in. We have no organizational direction. Excuse me?
We're being dominated because we don't control resources. That's the whole point. When you saying
we do control resources, your idea of resources is warped. You have a warped idea of what resources are. You think resources have to be brought out of the ground. That's not the case.
Reese,
resources
everything
do
that's
not
called
have to
a
be brought
resource.
out of the ground.
Hold on, guys. Hold on. I got to speak to the audience out there. As you see, we got some more people on the lines listening to the program. Again, this is press number 1, and we'll bring you in a conversation. Again, it's called Unifying a Divided People. Once again, the number is 319-527-6239. Elijah, I'm going to let you make your point, and I'm going to go back to the host, Orthodox Moor. We're going to get some more calls. Again, Elijah, make your point.
And I probably won't be on too much longer, but Reese said, and this is an example. Reese made the example, and she said, in order to unify people, we got technology. I'm going to ask the question, who controls technology? You can't unify nobody on Twitter when the people who own Twitter can shut it down. So to me, like, and I'm not attacking her per se, but if you don't understand people who grow people, nations of people, controlling, advocating for themselves, unifying, is predicated on what they own as a people, not rhetoric. So with that point, I appreciate y'all. I'll listen to the rest of it off here. Peace.
All right. Once again, the number is 319-527-6239. Orthodox Moor, again, man.
Yeah, real quick, I want to bring a clarity to the concept of nationalism and whatnot, and so I want to use the Jewish people in the modern state of Israel as kind of like a breakdown on nationalism and whatnot, because there's like 3 different stages. Okay, you got like a concept. Well, I'll say like this. So like the Jewish people, before they got the state of Israel, they were scattered in many different nations, right? And with that, you had different types of Jewish people. You got Sephardim, you got the Maghrabim, you got the Mizrahi, you got all kind of different kinds of cats, Ashkenazi, all different places and whatnot, right? So they're considering themselves on the bottom of the societies that they see themselves in there, right? They decide to collectively start moving together under this concept of Zionism, right? Or a group of them do amongst the different ones and whatnot. And so they collectively in their different spots start spending money together, right? They form like what I was talking about, like with the Chinese, where they got the Feng Hui. These people they formed a universal. They formed a Congress that they acted within, right? The collective thing that they did together, right? And so they went from being a scattered people to being scattered with the unifying principle, and then from that unifying principle, they started acting politically, and from that political activity, they ended up getting an actual nation, an actual physical land and whatnot. But there were stages to it, right? And so there's going to be different people who want different stages of that nationalism. Even like again, just like we have different people who agree or disagree on what we call ourselves. You can have people who disagree and agree on what level of nationalism to participate in. Do they want an actual physical piece of land outside of this? Do they want to operate here? Do they just want to be able to have a good life where they're at, etc.? Do you know what I'm saying? There's going to be different levels of participation. But the concept of nationalism is first organizing under that one collective idea of what do we have in common to work together for, or like work together from. And for like the Jews, it was the collective concept of being in the Jewish diaspora together, right? For us, I'm saying it's the one thing that we have, the only thing that we have to unify under in this country. The only unifying experience we have is the transatlantic slave trade. And the fact that we compete in a society who sees us as those people. They look at us as you are black people, you are the former people, you are the former slaves and whatnot. That's how the whole world sees us, whether we see ourselves like that or not. And we don't collectively act together for any national principles. And so the point of this show is can we agree to disagree and move forward on what we agree on?
Yep,
that's nationalism.
So. Yep. And like I said, he said, where is it being done? I don't know where else it's being done, but I definitely have a solution that I have in development, and it's my contribution towards solving our problems, because I feel like all of us need to be at least trying to do the same thing. You know, until we have the things that we need in place, I feel like we all need to be making an attempt, even if it's good or bad. You know, we need to be out here making attempts to do just that. And so, you know, all we needed to me, in my mind, all we need is the correct or the right type of gathering place so that we can all come together with all of our resources, all of our ideas, all of our, just our ability to move, our intellectual property, innovation. All that stuff needs to be housed under one roof. And that's the reason why I am developing my own technology platform to do so. And he's saying you can't unify anybody on Twitter. Twitter is just an app. Anybody can build an app.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, if I wanted to unify somebody, all I need is a platform to do it. All I need is a platform to do so. The platform.
Yeah, we got to build behind the scenes on that platform, sis. For real, for real.
Hey, listen, I'm telling you, I have quotes right now from people that's getting ready to actually develop this. One person that's going to develop it for me, it actually works for Google. He's just taking contract work because he's a brother that works for Google, and me and him been talking because I'm getting ready to start putting my money where my mouth is.
Yeah, we definitely got to talk on the side.
I got you.
All right, so once again, the number is 319-527-6239. I'm seeing the comments on Facebook. I see you guys. But, you have to call in and state your opinions on this matter, unifying a divided people. We only have like 35 minutes on the air, y'all. We have 35 minutes on the air. I guess if we talk about unifying the divided people, y'all want to talk about how we can do that? Orthodox Moor, guys.
Yeah, I'm all about using platforms like this here, like Debate Talk, for you to start having conversations about who we are, right, and why we shouldn't be fighting on the things we disagree on, and why we should be moving forward on things we agree on. Platforms like this are great for having conversations and getting to the roots of problems. It's all about conversation. It's all about what you think, what you feel, where you're at, what you're learning, all that kind of stuff. And so, I think, again, the first thing that we have to do is start to look for reasons to love each other, look for excuses to love each other, understanding that that we are a hurt people, and we're going to hurt people if we don't start to heal. Then we're going to hurt each other. We're going to hurt each other the most. You know what I'm saying? And so, like I'm saying, if in that love that I'm talking about starts by just recognizing we don't have to agree. Like, so a lot of us are coming to different understandings and different belief systems, etc. And they cling to those understandings as if they are their own identity. And if they run into somebody who's going through the same process, but maybe on a different level of the path, they clash because, well, you don't believe the same thing I believe, and my identity is different than yours, and blah blah blah. Like, nah, but we're learning, right? So we should allow each other the space to learn and whatnot. Like, so again, if I want to call myself a Moor or an Israelite or an Indigenous or Aboriginal, etc., whatnot, don't worry about that. I'm not asking you if I'm not asking you to call yourself that. Don't trip on that. You know what I'm saying? Those kind of things. Like, so again, I should be like curious as to what's your belief system and comparing it and contrasting it to mine. I'm like, oh wow, that's similar to what I believe on this, or that might be different right there, and all that kind of stuff. And where it's different, I can learn to give you space on that. I don't have to argue with you and try to convert you to what I believe. I just, okay, we don't talk about that right there. We don't deal with it. There's space we give each other on that. But where we agree, let's move on something.
Thank you. I want to say nobody comes to America to take up a religious plight or some kind of moral movement. They come over here to get money and come up with their quality of life. Nobody comes over here to be moral. They come over here to get money and worry about the morality after they have established themselves economically. And that's what we need to be thinking about.
All right, we got a caller standing by. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, we got a caller standing by. Whenever you're ready, you go to that one. We go for the caller. But the number is 319-527-6239. What about the quick question? What about those people that actually say, that's the number one reason why we're divided, and that's why we're never going to come together because of religion? What do you say to those people? And I know you already made the point that we should not think
they're
that way.
right.
There's people out there, no matter.
They're right. Yeah, that's absolutely right.
They're 100% right, and that's why I cite Malcolm all day, because Malcolm says we got to leave the religion at the door.
Yeah, because that religion is what is the problem.
But here's where it's also the solution. Like, so if the religion got the strength, if it gives you the strength to get you to the door, cool. That's all. I'm with that. I want you to have that, but I need you to not try to force it down my throat. So leave it at the door, and let's have this conversation. And here's another thing. When you pick it back up at the door, like I need to make. If we're going to talk about it, like the only thing we might need to talk about is, are you practicing it from a colonialist mindset, whatever you are practicing? You know what I'm saying? Because like that might be giving us beef on the inside of in the room when we're talking. You know what I'm saying? Because you might be coming at this thing with master's mindset still. You know what I'm saying? And that might be an issue. But beyond that, like, nah, leave that joint at the door, all right? You know what I'm saying? There's no like. So let's say we got a Muslim or we got a Moor and an Israelite, right? And they're beefing. Now, why does this make sense if they're beefing? If they agree out of like 7 out of 10 things, right? Like y'all, like if you like neither one of y'all gonna be eating pork. You know what I'm saying? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So what are you beefing on? How about we agree on the fact, okay, we're not gonna be eating pork. So how about we work on establishing certain stuff to where we can actually have our own a butchering situation, so we can make our own clean food, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like we don't have to agree on everything, but where we do agree, that's where we move forward.
Reese, want to comment on that?
Oh, I'm just agreeing, but I think that is the reason why my platform is designed for mission-based social engagement. I like to make up terms for things that I'm making reference to because it kind of helps you to fit in the vision. He's absolutely right. We need to come together on a single platform where we have to bring our minds together and figure out where are we going to create a starting point and just sort of, first of all, figure out what we have to contribute to our desires, collecting our resources together, placing ourselves in network, and then bringing others into the network, and just building our resources together. If we say that we don't like how the education industry is performing for our children and for our families and our future, then we need to come together with all of the educators that we know. We need to bring all the teachers into our network. We need to bring anybody that understands the ins and outs of education systems. And when they come on our platform, they can start to figure out, okay, well, how do we create our own education system? Let's go into business together. Let's create a business plan, and let's start putting together education services. Let's start putting together things for Black people designed for our students with our own curriculum, and we don't have to go through we can just pull our kids out of school, homeschool them, and let us serve our children through businesses that we've created for education purposes. And we can do that. They have educational learning centers all over the place. We can do that. And we have to start learning how to serve our needs through business so that we can own and operate our own systems. We can own and operate and control our own resources. We can own, operate, and control our own anything, our own assets. We do not need to be going to Caucasian people under their systems that oppress us and rape us for every dime that we have. You can't even pass through not one system that's been developed in this country under the Europeans that's not going to rape you around every corner. I'm talking about taxes. I'm talking about the food that you eat. And I'm talking about the pharmaceutical industry. I'm talking about health care. I'm talking about your car loans, your house loans. Everything is taking money off the top. By the time you get your check home, you got 5 cents in the bank because these people out here just taking off of all our energy. We don't have to operate on systems that work like that. We can create our own systems. We just have to do it in business.
We got Vinny D in the building. Yeah, we got Vinny D in the house. Sorry about that. Hey, Vinny D, what's going on, Vinny?
Oh, not much. Hey, how y'all doing, man? Been listening in. Peace to you, Sister Reese, Brother Moore, and Sal. Also, Brother Elijah. How y'all doing tonight?
Hey, man, all is well. Much gratitude for making it through, brother, man. I know you was putting in some work right quick, so much gratitude for coming through, bro.
Hey, I was listening, man. It got a little testy for a minute there.
You know what happens.
But it's a good topic. Hey, it's a good topic, though. I mean, we definitely need to be having these conversations, you know. And I think this is that one.
That's right. You notice I had to emphasize the title. You notice I had to emphasize the title, Unifying a Divided People.
Yeah, but I mean,
but again, Orthodox Moor. We got 27 minutes on the air, so I guess let's get Vinny take on this. Get it, Vinny.
Yeah. Let Vinny go in, man. Let Vinny go in. The floor is yours, bro.
Yeah. So I kind, to be honest, I'm kind of in the mind where we can unify on certain things, but then once we get to a point to where, my only thing is like the different moral things of it, like we can unify or we could come together, and then it don't cost nothing to show love to each other, but like in terms of like when you're like the brother Elijah made a good point to where he's saying like, well, when something arises and there comes time where you have to make a decision on a certain thing, like maybe eating pork or shellfish, or maybe a Sabbath or whatever, Ramadan or whatever, there's going to be moral differences that everybody has, because everybody doesn't follow the same guideline, And I think in terms of like me personally, I'm a Bible believer. So like the way that I structure my life is basically based on the instructions that's written in there. And I think where a lot of people kind of don't see what it is like it's basically a nation builder, It's basically instructions that is for a nation, And I think, I don't look at it as a religion. I think that people have turned it into a religion, but there's definitely laws and morals, or just certain things that when it comes down to make those hard decisions, my only concern would be how will we make those decisions if everybody believes in different things and different ways of going about instituting what laws or whatever you want to follow. But I definitely don't think on a larger scale where we come together and then we build up, because there's examples in any text where people of differing opinions have worked together and came together for a common goal, So I think that for the grand scheme, like just to get away from like this oppressive is what I want to say, oppressive system that we live under now, we definitely gonna have to come together upon something, because one thing for sure that we all know is that this system that we're being governed under right now is definitely not meant for us. It's a whole lot of saying and not doing. So I definitely think that on a micro level, it's I think problems will arise, but we could deal with those problems once we separate and we unify and do all this other stuff under the bigger scale. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll yield on that.
No, I agree with that, and to touch on that, like I don't think we'd ever be able to like to agree to be one people and like build like one physical nation out of that. You know what I'm saying? We have too many different belief systems, and we're too different for that. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to make a China out of the African diaspora out of here. You know what I'm saying? Like one homogenous country. Mm-hmm. But to your point, like about the system not being built for us or whatnot, that's what I'm saying in a sense to where we collectively recognize that it's affecting us all the same way. Particularly as the people that we descend from or whatnot, and whatever you believe in, right? I'm not asking you to go against that, right? Just on the local, minute level of just making breathing room for us to be able to operate how we need to as individuals. Like, so if you want to live a Bible-based lifestyle, there might be things going on in the society that stops you from being able to do it the way you want to, right? I might want to be able to live by the Quran, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Someone else might want to be able to live by nature. It's all them kind of things there, right? I'm talking about being able to move collectively, like, okay, you need to live like that, or you want to live like that, I want to live like this, they want to live like that. Okay, we move together so we each get what we need, because there's strength in numbers in this, how this society works, and we don't have those numbers. We have the numbers, but we're not moving together like that. We're not the three strands of rope right now, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. We definitely have to we definitely have to work together, That doesn't mean that you have to compromise what you strongly believe in, but it definitely means that you have to create some type of, commonality between each other, But I definitely do think that on when things start getting real tough and you have to go back to what you believe or what you know, then you're going to have to. Because I don't believe that like we have to all be in the same land. You know what I'm saying? I believe that we have to deal with each other accordingly. You know what I'm saying? And then the land that people who believe in the Bible, you have your own set of land. You do your own thing over there. But the main issue is that I think that everybody, like I can understand like people who don't want to sacrifice to, you know, the God of the Bible, or they don't want to go into those type of what should I say? Go into that type of a system. But we all know that in there it tells you how to treat people. You know what I'm saying? So if we could just treat each other that way, and we could just have our own little area that we can practice those things in, then I think that'd be good. But you know, I mean I pretty much am in the right along the lines of for the most part what Brother Elijah was going with, you know. But I do think that we do have to find some type of commonality and find a way that we could express love to each other, and not even so much defined in a Western sense, but just to define like in an Eastern sense, because the Eastern definition of love is something totally different than what we believe it is today, you know. And I'll yield on that one.
Yeah, in the sense of like, oh, please go ahead. Go ahead. My fault.
Okay, no problem. I want to know, why do we feel like we need to find our commonalities? Where are the commonalities hiding? Because to me, the commonalities are just as prevalent as the differences. It's very clear that we have a common enemy. It's very clear that we're all in the same boat of oppression. It's very clear that we're all economically oppressed. It's very clear that we all have no political power. It is very clear that we're all being undereducated. It is very clear that our food needs a mass overhaul. Like, to me, those are common goals that we all need to come together, and I don't think they need to be overthought. I don't think we need to, go through these long processes of, well, how are we going to organize based on our beliefs? I mean, do we not believe that we're being oppressed? Do we not believe that we are in this, environment that we need to take control over? I mean, where are these ideas hiding that we need to find and define and identify all this stuff? I mean, we've been in this thing for 400 years. So to me, I don't think that we need to go through a whole lot of reinventing the wheel on how to organize ourselves or how to come together. I mean, come together under your commonalities.
Yeah, I would say like it's, it's weird, because when you talk to people, you start seeing like how much you're like how many things you have in common, but then at the same time you see how many different things that you don't have in common, you know. So, and then a lot of the times, like especially with when I come into contact with people, like some of the things in common, it kind of outweigh, the things that we don't have in common. But then a lot of the time, some of the things that we don't have in common outweigh the things that we do. And just a case in point, like, like if like just about loving each other, like don't steal, don't rob, don't oppress nobody. Like when we get in the position of power, like the people who's running it, because we'll have to select like some heads that's gonna run the whole thing. But the people who's in power, what are they gonna do? Are they gonna try to govern it the same way that we've been governed over here? Is it gonna be a different system? You know what I'm saying? If we have a lot of people fishing to try to emulate the system that we're under right now, then all it's going to do is, instead of it being like white oppressors, it's just going to be black oppressors. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that thing is there. So we have to learn how to love each other. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the major key point, is learning how to love each other. Okay.
And I would like to.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were done. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. I was just going to reiterate what I was saying. Go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to, elaborate on that part, because loving each other means first that we love ourselves. If we love ourselves and serve each other, that is what we need to be focused on. Because if we are looking for first of all, we have to understand focus. Okay, the law of attraction and manifesting means that you are focused on what you do want, not what you don't want. So if we want to come together under our commonalities, our differences should not even come into the vision or into consideration at all. Our differences just simply need to be left at the door, like what he's talking about with this Malcolm X concept of leaving your religion at the door. To me, let's not just leave religion at the door. Let's leave all our differences at the daggone door.
Right.
Because if that's what's going to hold us back, then we don't need it. Differences are not a part of the focus. We're focused on common goals only. And anything else that's not common, we don't need to talk about it, because we're not going to agree. So leave it at the door. We have enough commonalities to sit around and talk about. We have enough commonalities to take action on. So we don't need the differences. Let that junk go. And that's where we start to realize, okay, this is how we serve each other. Okay, now that we got our common goals and interests, or now our common goals, our interests, and our desires together, now we can sit there and figure out how we're going to serve these interests. How are we going to create businesses that serve needs? And we should all know on a basic level that business is designed to serve the needs of a society. The black people got needs all over the place that need to be served. We can go into
100%.
business to serve our needs. Okay, we don't need some kind of reinvention of the wheel. We have needs. We have people in our community that can serve those needs. That's all we need to come together and do business, create, innovate, build some stuff, structure some stuff, organize some stuff, direct some stuff, own some stuff. That's all we need. Understand each other, serve each other, go into business, and meet those needs.
Right. I agree. I mean, I agree there. But then I would also say, like say for instance, we get our businesses and stuff. So what happens when somebody starts becoming greedy, and then they want to keep all the money, but then they don't want to pay people quote unquote livable wage. You know what I'm saying? Because they're nothing but what's a low end paying job.
Are you gonna work for somebody who's not paying you, bro?
Something like that, huh?
You gonna work for somebody who's not
Say
paying?
that again, more.
You gonna work for somebody who's not paying?
No, but that's what I'm. No, of course not. But that's what I'm saying.
Itself,
some people, but some
right.
people
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That take care of itself. Now, look, when you are working on an economic system, that's a beautiful thing about systems. You can craft it and engineer it the way you want it to work. So, for example, on my platform, the way I have the system designed to work is that it's based on voting with your dollars. So if you have a whole bunch of black businesses that come together and say, I'm going to provide a service to this black community, then the black community will financially support whatever they feel is the best service that they would like to utilize. But if you're not providing a service that black people can use, then black people are not going to use it, and you're not going to be a successful business person, just like any other supply and demand equation. You have to meet the demand with your supply, and your supply must be adequate. It must be pleasing. It must meet the need of the people. And so if we can accomplish that, then they will get paid, or that business can go into business and serve those needs, and they get paid, they get supported. But if they're doing janky business, they got bad service, they have a poor product, then obviously nobody's going to buy from them because they're not meeting the need up to par.
Well, I don't know, because people, all it takes is somebody to just offer a lesser price. You know what I'm saying? So if
that's the beauty of business.
Right, but what I'm saying is, like, somebody got to take that loss. It ain't gonna be the person on top. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be the person who's down there taking the tickets that's gonna take the loss, or the person who's down there cleaning out. Like I'm a painter, right? So we got our own little small business. So it's going to be the person who's cleaning out the brushes, the intern or whatever. He's going to be taking the loss. You know what I'm saying? And it's going to be all done because oh, I can get this person a minimum wage. I'll just pay him the minimum wage, while meanwhile I'm keeping the larger portion of the profit. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like we got to iron all these things out before we understand what nation building is, because I feel this is what I think when we talk about nation building. Like, I feel that we have to have some kind of a structure there in order to just do it. You know what I'm saying? We have to know what it is we expect from people, and then we have to make a conscious collective decision. If these people are not meeting that need, or they're not meeting what we expect them, or the level of civility, if they're not meeting that level of civility that we expect out of them, then we're just going to have to move on and use go somebody else. Also, everybody can't do the same thing. You know, like you can't have like 50 million people making T-shirts. You know, you got 50 million people making T-shirts, but then you don't got nobody else have no printing press. You don't got nobody doing the distribution. You don't have none of these things. You know, I think it's just we have to sit down and just talk about it.
So that's all real quick. That's where the sister's talking about it takes care of itself and whatnot. So let's say we got 100 people making hair care products and whatnot, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't owe all of them money. We owe the best one of them money. And the one that makes the best product, the one that makes the best product is going to rise to the top naturally, because we're going to buy different ones, find out which one we like. You know what I'm saying? And use the one that we like. You know what I'm saying? And when it comes to like the wage thing, and that's what also we talking about. Okay, just check this out. So like the biblical concept, you will know a tree by its fruits. You know what I'm saying? And so let's say you have Israelites charging people one wage, Moors charging people a wage, Kemetic people charging people a wage, whatever. Like the way people choose to do business underneath their ideology, like people will understand that and choose to either interact with that or not interact with that voluntarily. Like oh man, them Moors is cheap. I ain't trying to rock with them. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be a voluntary association kind of a thing. And nationalism, if you don't got my back, why am I rocking with you?
Right.
That's it. And, I think that might be one of the biggest things that we have to honor in our nation-building process is that, there may be some Caucasian people that offer this same product at a lesser price, but on the strength of my nation-building loyalty, I'm not going to shop with those Caucasians. I'm going to spend the extra money with my people because I know it's going to stay in my community, and we're building an infrastructure. So it is going to take some of our people being patient to get their needs met. Like, okay, maybe we don't have a printing press, but if we make that hair company rich enough and they're loyal to our nation building, then they would put in their money to reinvest into our nation building and start that printing press that we need.
Right. For instance, check this out. Like I used to be a screen printer, right? Like, so I actually have a printing press, right? Like, so I used to print T-shirts, right? I can also use that to print business cards. I can print on cardstock. I can print signs. I can print all kind of stuff with that. Like, so I can serve the nation. Like, so by myself, as a screen printer, I can make enough to support myself, right? Like it wasn't a whole bunch, you know what I'm saying? But it was cool. It paid the bills and whatnot. I had a small market I was working within locally, right? As a nation of people, I can market my stuff to a group of people that's way bigger, right? And potentially grow my business from something that just makes T-shirts to something that does make signs and cards and all kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's a whole, but at the same point in time, it's not going to happen unless I'm efficient at what I do. Do you know what I'm saying? Like whoever's the most efficient and best one is going to be the one who makes it doing that, and that's how it's supposed to happen. If I fail at being a screen printer, that means I shouldn't be a screen printer. Do you know what I'm saying? I should do something else.
That's right.
I should get in where I fit in. You know what I'm saying?
What I love about being connected to a network, like let's just say, okay, you didn't have the infrastructure, or you have not expanded large enough to meet the needs of the entire network or the entire nation. Let's just say people believed in you, in your good work ethic, in your business. You write up a plan for expansion, and your network comes together to find funding, private funding, to expand your operations so that the nation's needs can be met. I mean, there are ways for us to come together under our common interest and common sense, really. And just understand that we're doing this from ground zero. So there's going to be some kinks that have to be worked out. But, I mean, first of all, none of us have ever built a nation before. We can really be doing this from faith and sweat. So we're going to have to work with each other. Like, okay, come on, like, I don't have everything, but let's work together. Let's come together, negotiate some things. Let's be creative. If we got to rig some stuff, come on now. We know what a nigga rig is. Let's do it.
For sure. At the same point in time, we become our own consumer. Go ahead. I'm sorry, brother. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead. I've been talking all night. Go ahead.
All right. So basically, what I I wasn't saying like with the print press. I wasn't saying I was saying everybody's trying to do one thing. You know what I'm saying? Instead of spreading it out to where we could come together and put everything together and then use them, and everybody has something to do. To live off of. But just a real time example is of a good thing about ethics, right? Let's look at Amazon, right? How many of us order from Amazon?
I do.
I do certain things.
You do,
I
right?
boycott on certain things, but that's a whole other thing.
Right.
Go ahead.
Right. Okay. So I used to, right? Then I started talking to people that order off of Amazon or that work for Amazon, right? And then you hear about the type of shenanigans that they pull at these warehouses, where they to keep them off from getting full medical and stop them from getting all these hours. You know what I'm saying? To work, and it's just the way that they operate at these warehouses. It's like, man, I don't even want to support that thing no more. You know what I'm saying? But how many of us are going to do it? How many of us is going to look at that price and be like, okay, I can get it on Amazon for $3.99, but then if I go to the person at the local store, they're going to charge me $7-8 for it. You know what I'm saying? And then Amazon going to give you free shipping, and you can get it the Prime. I got I had Prime, so 2 days. I can get it in 2 days. If I want to pay a little bit extra, I can pay as good as get it the same day.
So that's what the business people got to figure out, right? So we all got different roles in this,
right?
Right? And so as someone who's has owned a business before, right? So I understand that the consumer is going to go for the best product at the cheapest price, no matter who it comes from. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so my job is to compete with that. You know what I'm saying? And so if Amazon is out competing us based upon their model, my job is to build as a business person is to build a competing model for the consumer to use. Do you see what I'm saying? So for instance, like I was talking about, I use them for some things. I don't use them for certain things. I don't buy products from our people off Amazon. I go to them directly and buy stuff So, for instance, I don't buy like an Afrocentric book. For instance, I will not buy them on Amazon. I will go to an Afrocentric bookstore, and I will either buy it in person or online from some store around the country. Right. I'm definitely going to be talking to Reese about what she's talking about, because I want to talk to her about the concept of actually building a competing structure for the consumer, to where we actually interlink the different Afrocentric bookstores and whatnot, get their backlog of books, get their inventory of books and whatnot, digitize it. But do the same thing that Amazon does, right? Maybe even call it the Nile. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you want to call it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and do the same thing, and even add to it, right? Because I know certain things to add that we can add to it. As someone who used to be a screen printer, I know how to add to it to actually make it cheaper for the consumer to do certain things that's not even available on Amazon. For instance, like reprinting of out-of-date books.
No, don't say it. Please don't say it out loud.
And that's why I rock with you. But you already know. But the job of the business people is to understand that the consumer is to understand the consumer's job is to make them efficient. And so we're supposed to give them the best product at the cheapest price. And so we got to give them the structure, and like Reese keeps saying, the system and engineer a system that can actually make that happen. Because we have the sweat equity to do so, and we have the money to do so. We just got to go in the wrong directions.
Yep, we have to start funneling our money back to us, and we have to have a place to hold it. Right now, we're like a running river, but there's no ocean or no lake to actually pull us into.
For real.
And I agree. I agree.
Hey, listen, hold on, guys. We got like 2 minutes left in the air, y'all. And Reese was about to do some bleeps on you, Orthodox. Some bleep. Some bleeps on you.
Hey, she saved you from jumping out the window right quick, though. No. Shout out to the sister right quick, though, for real.
Well, let's get this one more call, though. Let's go 919, you're live. That 919.
Shalom, Buck family. This all you got on.
Shalom. Brother Shaw, what's going on, bro?
Wonderful. My take is
all right.
The only worthwhile worldview is the Bible. For Yahweh has created all mankind to be separate unto Him. It's not religion. It's Yahweh's perfect will for all man, both Jew and Gentile, to be separate to Him. That requires faithful obedience to the Bible. That's the only worthwhile book in creation. That's my take. I respectfully disagree with the assertion that we can agree to disagree, because there cannot be no true unity until there is unity with Yahweh. There must be unity with Yahweh, and in so doing, there will be unity among all those that have been united with Yahweh.
We only have like a minute left in the air, but we're gonna go in the overtime part real quick, and we're gonna wrap it up though. But like you know, as you can hear, this caller saying his views on it. Like some of the people on social media is asking, is there a process of elimination when it comes to this concept of unifying a divided people? Orthodox Moor.
Is there a process of elimination? I would say yeah, and that's the whole process of leaving your religion at the door. It's identifying what the identifications are. You know what I'm saying, and understanding what that is. And the elimination is the elimination of we have to argue over what we disagree on. That's the only thing you eliminate. Is you recognize we disagree, we leave that to the side.
Reese, is there a process of elimination, in your opinion? Good.
I'm not sure how to answer that question. A process of elimination to eliminate what?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what I'm seeing on social media. I'm just reading what's on social media.
I'll say the same thing.
Go ahead.
I'll say the same thing.
Oh, I don't know. I'll give my best answer. I'll do that. I'll try that. I don't think that we need to be doing any processes of elimination. I think we need to be thinking about the word unity, which is inclusion. So to me, anything that is exclusive is counterproductive to what we are attempting to accomplish. We're looking for something that is all-inclusive for our people to come under one roof and serve our common goals, because we do have a common enemy, and they are only interested in one thing from us, which is our sweat equity and our ability to produce energy to maintain their systems. So in my opinion, because all of us fall under that roof, we all need to be trying to get from under that roof together, because it applies to all of us.
All right, Vinny. Vinny?
Yeah, so I would say process of elimination, it's kind of vague, but I would say that like in terms of I believe we should have like a moral code, and then if the people want to try to come around and don't adhere to the moral code, then we have to either have some way of reprimanding, or just not even dealing with people like that. So process of elimination, I guess, hopefully I answered that correctly, but that's kind of vague. If they could elaborate more on what they mean,
right,
give a better, more in-depth answer.
All right, listen, guys, we're in the overtime part of the show. We're about to wrap this up. Once again, very powerful conversation. Orthodox Moor, you brought this topic to the platform. Of course, we appreciate you. But we're going to go around and get some last words from everybody. Reese Roberts, last words.
Thank you for bringing the topic. I do agree this is a very powerful thing to discuss. And I really want to encourage everybody listening to look at our people look at us in our true light. I mean, like you said, we need to learn how to love ourselves and love each other, because we have the most value in this entire culture. And that's the reason why people are on our backs so heavily, and the reason why we have so many vampires among us, people just sucking energy from our being. And we have to learn to value that, and we have to learn to respect that, because we can as much energy as they siphon off from us and we're still maintaining high levels of energy, think about how powerful that is. We still maintain the ability to go on and to evolve and become better and to still exceed them, even though they are living off of us and they are oppressing us at the same time. You have to respect that. You have to respect that, and you have to see the value in it if you're going to call yourself a nation builder. We are here because we are powerful. We are here because we are worth it, and we are here because we are going to continue. We're going to keep going. That's just the way we're designed. But we will never see our full potential if we don't start looking around to notice, we can help each other. That's the beauty of our universe. This is a cooperative effort. It's made that way by nature. So I just think we need to start opening our eyes and stop seeing those differences and look more towards the common goal.
We appreciate you, Reese Roberts. Let's go to Vinny.
All right, and peace, everybody. First and foremost, Brother Moore, Sister Reese, Brother Sal, Brother Eliza, and all those who couldn't be here, Sister Yaya, and also Sister Jennifer. Always a good time. Always a great conversation, Moore. It's definitely something needed for all of us. And I say that, I think we can unify, but I think that we definitely have to have like some foundation to build on in order to do so. And I do think that foundation is love. We need to learn how to love each other, and we need to be taught the proper way to love, And I think with that, we could go a long way. And peace to everybody. Peace to all the callers, and I yield.
All right, and last is the host of the program, Orthodox Moor. Last words.
Yeah, first and foremost, I want to say shout out to Sal for letting this conversation happen on this platform. Shout out to Sister Reese for participating. Shout out to Brother Vinny for participating. Shout out to Brother Elijah for participating. Shout out to all the callers and the listeners who participated. To build off what Brother Vinny was just saying, I completely agree. Learning to love instead of hate is where we got to start this whole thing. And we all have a concept of love, no matter what background we come from. And there's whatever belief system you come from, even if you don't have one, looking at the state of nature gives you the same concept. I am because we are. Love your neighbor as if they are you. Love yourself through your neighbor. Right? Think about that. Love yourself through your neighbor, and love them as if they are you. So if you want respect about something, give that same respect to your neighbor. If you want space on something, give that same space to your neighbor. If you want love on something, give that same love to your neighbor. And that's for it all, because we all know what love is. We all know what that is, and we all know that we went through a situation that hurt us. Like I said at the outset, we are a hurt people that will continue to hurt people, and we got to reckon. We, as the adults in this situation, we can't look at the people who were too old. We can't look at the kids who were too young. We got to look at the people around us who could do something, right? The adults in the situation got to look at the situation we're in and recognize, okay, we are where we are. We are a people who descended through this transatlantic slavery. We have been damaged by it. There's effects to it, and as responsible adults, we need to deal with those effects. And the first thing we need to do, like the brother said, is to love each other. We got to find excuses to love each other. When I see my brother or my sister acting up, I got to find an excuse to love them through. And my excuse is understanding. You know what, sister? You know what, brother? I understand you're going through that because of the pain, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I understand you're expressing that because of X, Y, Z. And I'm gonna love you through that. I'm not gonna judge you for that. I'm not gonna say you're wrong. I'm gonna meet you halfway. I'm gonna love you through that. If being an Israelite gets you through the day, if being a Moor gets you through the day, if being Kemetic gets you through the day, if being indigenous gets you through the day, cool. I can love you through that. If that's not what I need, cool. I need you to love me through that. That's finding an excuse to love somebody. You see what I'm saying? And where we can agree on those things, Like a lot of people keep talking about like morality, etc. Everybody has a moral base to them, some way, shape, or form. We're not going to go into the room and be like, "Hey, do you think that it should be cool to steal?" And somebody's like, "Yeah, we should be stealing from everybody right now." That's not going to be how it is. And if it is, collectively, we're going to look at that person like, "Okay, we don't want you part of the group." And this concept of loving each other, we gotta learn each other, right? And it's okay to learn. Here's where we gotta love each other, right? Is when we're learning who we are, and we're identifying who we are. It's okay to let someone else learn to be someone else. They don't gotta learn to be everything that I am. I gotta give them that space to be who and what they are. We're not all the same. We're not all the same thing. It just is what it is. And there's actually a strength in that. There's a strength in the variability of our people, because we're so different. We all have different strengths, and because of that, we can be like the strongest alloy when we come together. We really got to think about that. Our lack of loving each other is keeping us from being something the world has never seen. We could be the most perfect alloy out there. When I say an alloy, I'm talking about a metal that has been joined with another metal to become stronger, or to become something more special. We could be something the world has never seen because of all the strengths we have as a people. But right now, we're choosing to be divided by not loving each other, by not connecting past our differences. So with that, I'm just going to leave it right here. We know the origin of the hurt. We know the origin of the pain. We know what love is, and we know what we need to do to connect. The issue is are we gonna continue to have cognitive dissonance and hate each other, hate ourselves? Let me say it like this better: hate ourselves through our brothers and sisters, or love ourselves through our brothers and sisters. And with that, I say peace and love, and I appreciate your time.
All right, we do have Elijah Moses here as well, so we got to give him some last words, and then we're going to wrap it up. Elijah Moses, last words. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you for taking my last words. I caught a flat in transitioning from trying to pick my daughter up a book in the middle of the night. So it's easier for me to go to the phone, plus my level of frustration was rising. I will say that in principle, I agree with setting aside differences in order to unify. Many nations and cultures have done that, right? I'm also saying emphatically, in my estimation, that is not going to be able to be accomplished primarily because there's not a focus amongst people nationally, brown people, black people, whatever we call ourselves, whatever, nationally, on control of resources and production. You can never unify sustainably any group without that. Any group who has tried and lost control ceased from being a nation or was subject to another nation. So that has to be the first premise. Not a business, not a bunch of other things. Love can also be actualized through the provisions that you can make by controlling resources. The way my wife knows I love her is she has a pretty decent structure to walk into, and even before it was pretty decent, she can walk into something that, hey, this is ours, right? And as a people, you have to do the same thing. So when we talk about love, when we talk about care, when we talk about affection, we talk about even unification, I'm suggesting that it's always going to be predicated on the land and the resources. Last thing, when God told he loved Abraham, what did he give Abraham? A land that he promised to him. The other people he gave land to. From there, hey, man, it's flowing milk and honey. It got tin, it got ore, it got copper in it. Now you can go build something to demonstrate your love. In the Bereshit in Genesis, he made everything and put man in a place where he had access to all of the resources. He didn't make man first and be like, oh, man, you know what? Y'all need a tomato and some water and some pineapples and some strawberries. You know what? Let me get all that in order first and then put you in an environment to demonstrate how valuable that is to you. So the resources came first in the Bereshit before the man came. And I think that we all should learn from that lesson because to me that's one of the most notable things. That is the demonstration of love. So I appreciate, I don't disagree that people can unify and get together, but I'm saying If it's not, as a people, us in the States, I don't believe it's possible. But if it were, it would have to be predicated on resources. Thank you.
Help keep the show on the air. If you want to help, you can send your donation through PayPal. The email is debatetalkforyou@gmail.com or through Cash App, $Sal Showtime. Thanks for your support.
Welcome to the planets of debates. Debate Talk for You Radio.